talk about cellular respiration. We are going to just kind of start off with sort of general plan and then move into some more of the details. And then we'll come back to the general overall again. Okay, so the overall process is sugar. If you take sugar, which can be any kind of food, and we'll talk more about that later, like how different foods might be used, in the presence of oxygen gas. So cellular respiration, as we're going to talk about it, is an oxidative process requiring oxygen. And what's going to be yielded is going to be ATP, or energy, that can then be used by the cell for other things. And the byproducts are carbon dioxide and water. If you look at the bottom part of this overall process, it shows you the actual numbers there. And the numbers of carbons, hydrogens, oxygens should add up on the same on the left side versus the right side. What that also means is that the energy should also be the same. In other words, the energy that was found in the glucose or sugar molecules is going to be the energy that is yielded in the process. So the whole point of the process would be to use food to generate energy that can then be used for other metabolic processes. Now, the process itself of cellular respiration can be divided into 4 parts. Glycolysis is the first part. Then there's a second, what I call the preliminary step. The book does not use this terminology, so it just calls it pyruvate oxidation. So it is also in some other books called other things. Anyway, I'm just going to call it we could call it pyruvate oxidation. Maybe I should write that in there. And then the Krebs cycle is the second thing, the third thing. And then the last is the electron transport chain. All right, so then let's just talk about where this happens. So this is a picture of the mitochondria. So the mitochondria, let's see if we can get close enough here. The mitochondria has an outer membrane. It has an inner membrane that make cristae, and then the inside is called the matrix. Remember that mitochondria also have their own DNA, so if there's a lot of cellular respiration happening, the cell can just simply make more mitochondria. The other place that's important is what we call the intermembrane space. Remember, inter means between the 2 membranes, that is the outer and inner membrane. And this is a space where things will happen. And so that is, it's actually a space. Some people call it, like when you're answering a question, you call it the intermembrane, and that's not the deal. It's actually the intermembrane space. All right, so where is this stuff happening? Glycolysis is number 1. It is happening in the cytoplasm. This part of the process does not require oxygen, so this is a non-oxidative part of the process, or it's non-aerobic, or anaerobic is the other term. The second part, which is the preliminary step, or pyruvate oxidation, is happening in the intermembrane space. Okay, the third part, which is the Krebs cycle, is happening in the matrix, any place in the matrix. And the last part, which is called the electron transport chain, is happening across the inner membrane.